Welcome to the Looped Lifestyle Podcast, the #1 podcast for diabetics who want to have their cake pop and eat it too. I'm your mentor, Stephanie Johnson. Please welcome our very own member of the Cake Pop crew and graduate of the Have Your Cake Pop and Eat It Too program, Diana Hernandez. She is hosting our Monday Mindset episode. This podcast is recorded live on Instagram. We cover health, wealth, and relationships, the blueprint for transforming your life. So grab a pen and paper, take some notes. I hope you find some value in the information Diana is sharing. Let's get into it.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Monday Mindset. For those who are new to today's episode, welcome. For those who joined me in the past, thanks for coming back. My name is Diana Hernandez and I'm working with Stephanie Johnson in her program Loop Lifestyle. If you want to learn more, you can follow Stephanie on Instagram at @the_cranky_pinky. She's also on Facebook and I'll make sure to tag her in the comments. So I was in supervision with one of my staff today, and she was sharing how she was being firm with a client during a session last week. And then afterwards, she felt like she was coming off as a witch. And I mean the other word, but I'll refrain myself today. So I look at her and I'm like, no, you are being assertive and firm. So I know this staff well enough to know that she's not going to mistreat or disrespect a client. So I was, pretty confident in her. So anyway, she kind of smirks and she says that she couldn't stop thinking about it. So I remind her that this client, obviously we have history with the client. I know about the client. So, I'm not kind of just saying stuff. So I reminded her that this client needed that type of support and it was okay to be assertive when you needed to be. I told her, I was like, you need to change that mindset. So clients in general need boundaries and guidelines sometimes is what I told her. And I reminded her that if it was a guy she saw doing that, she probably wouldn't have thought of him as being an asshole. And she smiled and nodded her head in agreement. So I bring this story up to talk about being assertive and not being afraid to speak your mind, whether it's in a professional sense, whether it's in your personal life, or in any type of setting. So what does being assertive mean? According to my quick Google search, Hi Dolores, assertiveness means expressing your point of view clearly and directly while still respecting others. So communicating in an assertive manner can help to minimize conflict and can help control any anger or feelings. So the two types of communication that can exacerbate conflict and induce anger or frustration in both parties, or at least one party, is passive and aggressive communication. So with aggressive communication, you're probably judging or being judgmental, maybe you're disagreeing, and you're not allowing others to share their opinion. Passively communicating could lead to feelings of being misunderstood, misheard, and feeling like no one is truly listening to you or valuing any input that you may have. So some benefits of being assertive include better communication, less stress, more trust, and more confidence. So to kind of just go a little bit into that. So assertive behavior is great for both parties. So if you communicate wisely, you can get what you want out of the interaction and hopefully the other person will also be satisfied as well. Being assertive can also create less stress. So if aggressive communication in general is stressful, maybe possibly for you because you're feeling frustrated and it's the other person who's on the other end of it receiving that type of style of communication, it can be stressful. Passive communication can just be as stressful because the other person might not be understanding. Like I said earlier, you might not be feeling understood and somebody might end up getting humiliated, feeling threatened, or just getting their feelings hurt. If you are on the strong side, you might end up regretting putting your need to be heard over the other person's right to speak. But when it comes to assertive communication, when doing that, you're able to acknowledge the other person's feelings and desires while still being able to share yours and trying to find the best solution for the situation. So that obviously will equate to very little stress because both parties are being acknowledged, both parties are being heard, and you're both willing to come to some sort of agreement. The other benefit of assertive communication is that you're building trust. Obviously, trust is super important in any type of relationship that you are involved in, and it can help you get there naturally. So passive communication can often result in people not taking you seriously, and then aggressive communication may lead to feelings of resentment. So when you're trustworthy in your communication, that builds connection. So like for myself as a hospital social worker on the weekends and as a unit supervisor during the weekday, I need to clearly communicate myself and I need to build rapport with whoever I'm speaking with to hopefully create that connection, build that trust, and build a professional relationship, of course, with that person that I'm speaking to. So fun, but not funny story. Not fun either. But anyway, I was working at the hospital on Saturday and there was a patient who was medically cleared to be discharged. They were homeless and also had a diagnosed mental illness. So the psychiatrist cleared the patient to go. The medical doctor also cleared the patient to go, but this patient was refusing to leave. So the nurse calls me and says, hey, there's a patient here who doesn't want to go. Can you help us? And I was clear with my communication and I said, what am I going to do differently than what you did? Because I'm assuming that they're going to say and do exactly the same thing that I would do. So she laughs and she just goes, well, you're a social worker and you probably can handle psych patients better than I can. I said, okay, fine, I'll give it a try. This is a plan. So I came up with a plan, again, clear with my communication. And I said, okay, I'm going to go talk to this patient. If they refuse to leave, then we're just going to have to escort them out using security if I'm unable to do it myself. So I go to the patient's room and I introduce myself as, hi, I'm Diana. I'm one of the social workers here. How are you doing? Immediately, the patient goes, get the F out of my face, obviously using the real word, and said it twice. So me, knowing very well about crisis intervention and crises in general and high-risk situations, if somebody tells me to back the F up, I'm gonna back the F up. So I stepped back, took a step back, and I said, do you need anything? Any questions that you need answered? And anyway, I kind of go on to just talk about that because the patient was not being nice to hospital staff, was being a little aggressive, and just was not easy to work with. This was my first time meeting the patient, so naturally I needed to create a quick relationship to hopefully try to convince the patient to leave on their own terms without having to use force. So after talking to the patient for a little bit, patient flipped. She was completely nice and using a soft voice, giving me thumb high fives and elbow high fives, and requested a peanut butter jelly sandwich and some grape juice. And I said, okay, I'll get that for you. So again, that was my way of building rapport. Not really sure where I was going with that story, but it was just a story that really imprinted on me this past weekend. So I don't know if maybe I just think I needed to talk about it a little bit more. I'm sure for you guys who are curious, I ended up not being able to convince the patient to leave. The patient did tell me, you're really nice, you're a very sweet person, and I don't want to get mad at you, so please get out of my face. I said, okay, no problem. So we did have to call security and police to escort her out. Luckily, she did so without any incident and it was fine. But again, as a social worker, sometimes you need to not sometimes, you always have to be able to speak your mind, be very clear with what your intentions are, be very clear with your communication, because if God forbid I wasn't able to be assertive or clearly communicate what I wanted to, that situation could have gone worse or could have gone a completely different way. So kind of derailed there, but come back. So another benefit to assertive communication is more confidence. So sometimes you can hide your feelings when you're interacting with others without caring about what they think or feel. So when you do that, you're lowering your self-esteem, or you're at least building it on the wrong foundation. But by being assertive, you're showing that you're both brave enough to stand up for what you believe in and that you're in control of what you're saying, and obviously how you say it and how you communicate it. So there's a balance between stating your needs and giving the other person a chance to do the same, and again having that equal respect and that equal kind of conversation. So in doing some research on assertive communication, I came across the 3 C's of assertive communication. Confidence, you believe in your ability to handle a situation. Clear, the message you have is clear and easy to understand. And controlled, you deliver information in a calm and controlled manner. So another thing in regards to assertive communication is learning to say no more often. So how many of us struggle with saying no? Yep, if y'all were here, you'd probably be putting up your hand. And I'm talking in regards to in your personal life, in your work life, with friends, with family, and any kind of situation. I'm sure there's been times, or there's been a time where you have a hard time saying no. I consider myself a hard worker, and when someone asks me to work overtime, obviously I kind of want to say no, but I end up saying yes, and then I end up telling myself, oh, Diana, why did you do that? Or if someone asks you to stay overtime, you kind of don't want to, but you're like, okay, fine, I'll say yes. So we have to learn how to say no, okay? I know personally it's very difficult saying no, especially if, you don't want to let down your boss, or you don't want to let down your coworkers, you want to be a team player, kind of guilts you to saying yes all the time. But we have to remember to put our needs first, put ourselves first, because if we're, working ourselves to the bone, other areas in our life might start to dwindle. Whether it's our personal relationship with ourselves or with family or with friends, it's going to start affecting you in some way or another. So being assertive means saying no more often. You're going to have to let go. Obviously, I'm talking to myself too. We're going to have to let go of the need to please everyone and doing things according to other people's expectations. Because when you don't do that, and you are trying to please everybody, you are often feeling dissatisfied. And it does get you into this kind of cycle of continuing to say no the next time. So assertive communication means being okay with saying exactly what you want, but doing it in a way that it's not going to hurt other people's feelings, right? So it could mean rejecting things that you decide are not a good fit for you, but explaining exactly why you rejected them. So not just saying no, just no. You don't want to be a toddler either. You got to, be an adult and have a conversation. The word because is a powerful game changer in communication. If you say no because you have a valid reason, whether the other person accepts it or not, that's on them. That's not on you. You are clearly communicating why it is that you're saying no. You're giving a reason, you're providing explanation, and I think that's the best way to go. Because if you just say no, kind of goes back to the other type of communication. It could come off as aggressive if you use a certain tone of voice, and then the other person's going to be like, WTF, why? What the heck? And they might start to have an internal conversation about why you might have said no, start judging you, create an opinion about you. And that's not what we want, right? We want to try to maintain our image, maybe as a hard worker or as someone who cares about being a team player. So if we say no because, it'll be helpful, hopefully. If you're able to give a strong reason and say them with determination, again, being assertive means being confident in what you're saying. People most likely are not going to be upset because you gave them a no. So going back to the way you deliver that, you want to watch your tone, right? So sometimes when we're feeling frustrated or we feel very strongly about something, we may not be able to control our emotions or manage our emotions. I don't like using the word control. Manage our emotions in that moment. And it might come off as an aggressive no or a type of no that you weren't intending, right? So when you're saying no, you want to do your best. And again, this takes practice. Do your best to just make sure that your voice is calm, relaxed. So you should sound and feel calm at the same time. It's going to take time, like anything else that I've said. So be patient with yourself. Don't get annoyed. If you do end up raising your voice without realizing or rushing a conversation, be patient with yourself. Because you might become irritated because then you're trying to effectively communicate and it's not coming out the way you want it to. So again, it's going to be like, So be calm with yourself, be patient. There's always going to be something in life where you're going to be able to practice saying no. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities. So when you're also being assertive, you want to make sure that you're not showing any hesitation or harshness in your voice. You want to keep it friendly and again, calm. You want to speak slowly, use a quieter voice to hopefully bring balance back to the conversation if it's starting to get a little escalated. So just to kind of go a little bit further, we want to also be present, right? So to effectively communicate and to form better relationships, we have to be mindful of what the other person is trying to say. So we don't want to bring up issues from the past or let our minds get distracted because that can show disrespect and can cause you to lose focus. And if you lose focus, you're not going to be able to really give a proper answer or be assertive. So in being present, learning to be mindful, right? So being mindful means staying in the moment and not thinking about anybody else who's not currently around you and just really focusing on the conversation, focusing on the person in front of you or persons, for literally forgetting about anything else in the world and making eye contact, right? Making eye contact, looking at the person that you're communicating at that moment and actively listening to what they're saying. So all of that I just said is what I literally do every single day as a social worker. As a unit supervisor, when patients complain or when staff are providing a complaint, imagine me just looking around and not paying attention. They're gonna think I don't care. They're gonna think that I'm not being validating and I'm not being empathic. They're gonna maybe not want to trust me anymore because this person doesn't care about me. This person doesn't care. So obviously, I want to have a good rapport, a good relationship with my staff. I want to be able to help our clients feel like we can trust them. So I'm going to have to do all of these things. I'm going to have to listen effectively. I'm going to have to stay in the moment. I can't think about anything else. I can't think about what I'm going to have for lunch. I can't think about it when I'm after dinner, because then I'm going to be losing out on possible important information that I could have used to connect with them, or I could have used to empathize, or I could have used to validate, right? So do your best in learning how to be present in the moment. Even if the situation is super uncomfortable and you start to feel like your mind is wandering, tell yourself, okay, pay attention again. Even if it's internally talking to yourself, you're just like this and you're like, hey, Dana, pay attention. What are we talking about? Let's catch up. And you can always ask for clarifying questions. We're human at the end of the day. And hopefully, again, with the way you deliver that message, like, oh, I'm sorry, can you clarify that for me? Maybe using that, they'll never catch on that you just weren't paying attention. But again, it's a way for them to maybe say it a different way that is, that they're better able to communicate with you. And it allows you the chance to kind of get back on track and be like, oh, shoot, okay, what are you talking about? So anyway, so I'm kind of passionate about this, even though I myself I don't consider myself to be a super assertive person. But if you ask my family and my husband, I kind of borderline on the aggressive side. I do feel very, very comfortable with my family and my husband to let them know how I feel, to share my opinion. My husband will probably tell you, oh yeah, she will let you know how she feels. With friends, it's a little different. I don't know why, or maybe I do know why. With friends, it's a little different. Family already know that no matter what I do, they're going to still love me. With friends, there is probably not unconditional love kind of there. It's more conditional. So there is that social aspect of, losing a friend because you're being aggressive or you're being too passive, and people getting frustrated and things like that. But I'm human too. And I am continuing to practice to be a better communicator, not only with my family, but obviously with my husband, again, to decrease conflict and decrease stress. So a quick exercise, I want you to start using iMessages. So this is something that I use, or I was taught to use when I was a counselor at a residential treatment facility. When someone's feelings are hurt, instead of saying you, pointing the finger, we tend to go, okay, when you said this, I felt like that, right? So it's possible to, you are able to express any kind of feelings without increasing conflict, but again, using the word I. By using that, it kind of helps to keep the conversation moving in the right direction, and we can express our feelings without sounding like we're accusing them. So using the word I, always want to start with I feel. When you do I feel, you don't come across as critical. And then you're able to tell the other person how you're feeling and what happened for you to feel that way and what can be done to help the situation. So I messages, so saying I or starting a sentence with I feel helps you take responsibility for your own ideas and feelings instead of blaming the other person. So for example, actually this happened last weekend too. My husband, I don't know what he said, but I did not like it. And I said, when you said that, I feel disrespected. And obviously that made him like check himself. He's like, oh my God, what did I just say? And he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant this. Oh, okay, cool. So, sometimes when you say that, you're able to check the other person and be like, when you said that, I felt like this. They can't deny that you feel that way. They can maybe, but that's a different story. But you feel the way you feel, right? So it's hopefully going to help them be, again, like I said, check themselves and be like, oh, wait a second, what did I say? Or that's not how I meant it. I'm sorry. I apologize. And then, hopefully you're better able to salvage the conversation. And again, you're able to share how you're feeling appropriately. So with that being said, just another quick little story, and I'll let you guys all go. From high school to graduate school, I was pretty timid and shy. I never really spoke up in class. And if I was called on, I would get super red, even though I'm brown. I would still get red. I would get really hot, and then I would start sweating. And I hated public speaking or speaking in class. So I never really did that. So when I started my second year internship at graduate school, which was at a hospital, my clinical supervisor, she immediately identified me as someone who was very shy. And she said that if I wanted to be an effective social worker in the hospital setting, I was gonna need to quickly learn how to use my voice to advocate for my patient. And guess what? She was right. That internship, along with graduate school, definitely helped me to find my voice. As a social worker, for those who are social workers, one of our ethical standards or practices is to be an advocate. So I really needed to learn how to advocate for my patients. And so with that, I needed to be assertive with my communication, and I needed to talk to doctors. I needed to talk to psychiatrists. I needed to talk to nurses. I needed to talk to family members. I needed to talk to, case managers or discharge planners, right? So if I felt in my gut that, felt that this is wrong, I needed to speak up, because if I didn't, what could that have caused my patient, right? Or the patient's family? family. So I'm honestly just to say I'm really grateful for that experience. I did continue to work in that same hospital, and I did learn how to be assertive, how to speak my mind, and continuing to do that in other areas of my life. So I was in 2 pretty toxic relationships, and after that I realized the importance of assertive communication and the importance of saying no and really meaning it, of course. And so again, now, with that, I told myself, okay, never again am I going to allow myself to be in that type of situation. Never again am I going to downplay how I feel, and I'm going to be assertive, and I have to speak up, right? I have to learn how to be confident. I have to learn how to effectively communicate so that my point is getting across. And with time, I got a lot better at it. And obviously I'm still practicing in my work setting. I got no problem doing that. I have no problem speaking my mind in staff meetings, during obviously my personal supervisions with my own manager. I'm not afraid. But there are other social situations where I am still, afraid to kind of speak my mind. But this is what I think what life is partly about, right? Learning from our mistakes and learning to be better. And I think that with communication 1 and 2, assertive communication, it can help us be better, feel better, and hopefully create better relationships, or even, create more trusting relationships. So anyway, kind of dragged on a little bit there, but that's kind of all I had today. I talked a lot, but I'm glad that you guys stayed on, and I hope this was helpful for you. So I implore you all to practice assertive communication. I implore you all to listen to this podcast again, or it's going to be available on Spotify, and it's also here available on Instagram. So hopefully you guys do learn how to do that and make this a better world for all of us. Gracias, Tio. Thank you for being here all the way from North Carolina. I appreciate you all, and let's get out there and be assertive. All right, bye guys.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I appreciate you very much. If you love this episode, please take a screenshot and share it on your social media. Tag me at the_cranky_panky for Instagram and at @thecrankypanky for Facebook. You can find the application for mentoring at the link in my Instagram bio at the_cranky_panky. Get your application in, we'll have a chat and see if the Have Your Cake Pop and Eat It Too program is right for you. Until next time, stay in the loop.